Remember yesterday I told you about Judd Gregg, the senator from New Hampshire, who came out and with his little obstructionist memo told the Republicans how to obstruct health care reform in any way, shape, and form by any means necessary. And he explained that they should object to things with or without cause, just to cause delay. So if Democrats are speaking or they're proposing something, just do a counter-proposal or object on procedural grounds, even if you don't have cause, okay? And are the things that you bring up, should they be pertinent to the discussion? Again, the memo said no. The objections you bring up or the amendments you bring up or any order that you bring up can be germane or non-germane. Doesn't have to be relevant to the debate at all. The whole point is to kill this thing by delay, cause many filibusters, not just the final one, okay? So now when this was leaked to the press that he was handing that out to all his fellow Republican senators, they asked Judd Gregg about it, and he said, "Oh, what are you talking about? Look, I'm just using the rights of the minority, and I'm sure that, you know, if the Democrats were in the minority, they'd be doing the same thing." First of all, I remember when they were in the minority. They did no such thing. Now, you can have an argument as to whether they should have or not, but they certainly didn't. So what's the irony of the Democrats objecting to this? There's no irony at all. They didn't do any of this nonsense, right? And he's like, what? I'm just using the rules that are given by John Adams and people like Alexander Hamilton that fought for them. Our founding fathers fought for us to be able to exercise these rights of the minor. Okay. The founding fathers did not want you to obstruct every bill you disagreed with by bringing up things that are pertinent or not pertinent to the discussion, just so you can do further filibustering. In fact, the filibusters are not part of the Constitution. That's a whole separate debate. Now, look, what do I think about this tactic overall? Okay. Now, I want to be clear. I think that if I was a Democrat, or even if I was a Republican, whoever I was, and I wanted to stop the Iraq War, and I did, and I wanted to stop it desperately before they started it, would I have used these tactics? I got to be honest with you. Yes, by any means necessary. Okay, hundreds of thousands of people died in that war, and I would have tried this. Okay, now the second question is, should I have been allowed to use these techniques? And the answer is no. The reason is, if you allow these techniques, well then anyone can block any bill, and you basically grind the Senate to a complete and utter halt. Now, if you say, oh, don't worry, they only use it in extreme circumstances. See, that's what they said about the filibuster. And now the Republicans use it on nearly every single bill. And then, of course, back when they were in charge, they screamed uncle anytime the Democrats even thought about a filibuster. They're like, extraordinary circumstances! Now they're like every circumstance. So, look, I get that they're trying to fight this thing, and if I was on their side, I'd appreciate their enthusiasm, right? But obviously we can't have this. So there's got to... if they do actually follow through on this thread, there's got to be a way to circumvent this, to close off debate, and you can do that depending on what rules you want to use in the Senate with a simple majority. You can't have this kind of, grinding of the system to a complete stop, as Senator Gregg wants. Now, the funny thing is, Senator Gregg had an opinion on this kind of tactics back in 2006 when the Republicans were in charge. Now, you want to talk about irony? You want to talk about somebody changing their position? Get a load of what he thought of these tactics back in 2006.
Obstruction has become the only thing which the other side of the aisle appears to be able to do. Obstruction for the purposes of obstruction, for the purposes of obtaining power around here.
Oh, that's perfect. Obstruction for the sake of obstruction. Is that what you said, Senator Gregg? I couldn't quite hear you. God, these politicians are such hypocrites, especially the Republicans.